I went to Springfield, Massachusetts to get my master's degree in physical education, and we were kind of just doing sessions here and there, and just making some extra money, and then it just kind of got to the point I remember us, just sitting down one day, and we were like what is Beestera? And we didn't really know, and we kind of decided like, hey, let's give this a shot and see what it is, because yeah, I wasn't really loving being a teacher. He wasn't really loving coaching college soccer. So we said, hey, let's go for this. And the worst thing that happens is it doesn't work out. But it has since. So
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Drive Face podcast from Coordinate Sports. This is your show about sports founders, leaders, and experts, and the story behind their business journeys. Just wrapped up a conversation with Mike Matera just now. Really excited to talk to Mike about the founding and the launch of Beestera Soccer over in the US. They are now, having grown the business, they're the number one soccer training camp for Nike soccer camps. And we had a great conversation around where they want to take the business, how they've achieved the success so far, and basically the next steps for Beestera, and how they're going to grow and dominate the east coast of the USA. So anyone in soccer or running holiday activity camps at the moment, some great insights from Mike. So please listen in, enjoy the show, like, comment, and also subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hey, I'm super excited today to be welcoming Mike Matera to the show. He's camp director and co-founder at Beestera Soccer and Nike Soccer Camps. So, Mike, I was going to announce some stats, I guess, for the summer, but it's always changes. I want to kind of ask you, how many kids are you actually working with on like an annual basis?
through our summer camps, we're doing about 3,000 players this year, over the course of 50 different day in residential camps. So last year we had about 2,500. So we're hoping to kind of smash that 3,000 number this year.
Yeah, I thought that'd be out of date. I had that 2,500. I thought it'd be out of date for this year for sure. So, yeah, that's also, I mean, what we normally do on the pod when we have a guest, I'm sure there's plenty of people who know you, know Beestera, but just to kind of get to know you a little bit better, we look at your experience coming up as a child, specifically around sport in school, sports coaching. So if we were going to look at discussing that, what would be your earliest sporting memory or soccer memory?
I would say my earliest one is just the first time I ever played with my town team, and just getting to play with all my friends at school. And I just remember just being out there and being like, hey, you know what, I'm pretty good at this. And I think that's kind of why I started liking it a little bit more than other things, and it just kind of stuck from there. But yeah, I grew up in Trumbull, Connecticut, and that's just where it all started.
Yeah, and at the time was that kind of a, I don't know, like a hotbed for soccer, or what was the main sport that was played in school? That would be baseball or something like that.
No, I'd say growing up, I think soccer's always the number one sport, even in America. I think a lot of players they stop playing around 11 or 12, and they get more into baseball or basketball or football, and that's why it doesn't keep growing the way it does in other places. There's just so many other things to do here. And like same with me, I played soccer, basketball, baseball, golf, pretty much everything growing up, but just kind of fell in love with soccer.
Yeah, so you were saying about growing up, and I think for your journey, and obviously I know you were a pro for a period of time, or I'm not sure. Do you still play at the moment?
Not anymore. Well, I played
No.
in we have the U.S. Open Cup here, which is similar to the FA Cup in England. So I played for kind of like a semi-pro team there a few weeks ago. Didn't play that competitively for a long time. So me and the other co-founder James, we took about 3 weeks trying to get back in shape, and we ended up only playing probably 10 minutes in the game, and we lost. But it was good to get back and playing competitively, and really caring about what happens and how you play compared to just playing the men's leagues and Sunday leagues and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then what was the recovery like? Was that 3 weeks recovery from that game as well, or
Pretty 10 minutes for 3 weeks, pretty much. Yeah.
yeah? But yeah, I mean, that journey to becoming a pro, what was that like? So I know you said a popular sport in like elementary school, etc. But for you, that trajectory, it'd be good to hear about kind of your experience coming through, and I'm sure there was some really strong role models along the way.
Yeah, I mean that pretty much everyone, once you get to, I'd say, college, and you're playing in college, everyone wants to be a pro after that. And um, not as I would honestly say it's tougher to become a pro in America than it is in England, just because there are so many different leagues in England that you can play in and you can work your way up. In America, it's kind of like don't get drafted by the MLS. Okay, now you have to play in the USL, and there's only a select number of teams and leagues there. If not, you end up just trying to go overseas and trying to make things work. Um, I I always kind of wanted to play at a higher level than I did, and um, just kind of life just took over, and the business started doing well, and just kind of missed my chance, kind of thing, and I do regret it a little bit, but I'm also really happy with where I'm at right now. So.
Yeah, and so so I guess this is a good point to talk about kind of the founding story. I mean, you come through. You're playing pro at that time or semi-pro when you launched the business. It'd be good to I guess hear that origin story of the business. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, so at the time it was James and I. We were college teammates at Siena College, so we were playing Division 1 soccer. And right after we graduated, we were both kind of in the same boat, thinking about what we were going to do, and we ended up coaching in college soccer. But at the same time, the team that we were currently playing on, that was a semi-pro team, was making the jump to becoming a professional team, and they were called Western Mass Pro Soccer Club, and it was a new league starting up, the American Soccer League, and so it was kind of like the perfect moment for us to kind of hop in, and we tried to, see if that took us anywhere, and unfortunately, whether it was, you know, maybe we just weren't good enough or we didn't kind of put the time in or anything. It just kind of fizzled out from there, and that was it. And then it got to the point me and James just said, "All right, what's next?" And it was just kind of us in the car one day, and I was running after school programs because I have a physical education background. He was still coaching in college and doing private training, and we, kind of decided just to put everything we were doing together and just work with each other. We're not two kinds of people that wanted to be behind a desk or wanted to work for someone else. We both loved what we were doing and we wanted to make it work on our own. So we kind of just joined up, and it's kind of all history from there. So we're two best friends. He stayed with me, all throughout holidays since he couldn't, always go home to England and everything, and it turned into a really good business partnership as well.
Nice. And I guess at the time, it doesn't feel like you had like a long term vision for it. It's like, yo, let's get it started. But then over time, did you kind of develop that, or was it kind of fly by the seat of your pants initially?
Yeah, we were doing it kind of part time. There was a time James went to Alabama to coach college soccer. I went to Springfield, Massachusetts to get my master's degree in physical education, and we were kind of just doing sessions here and there, and just making some extra money, and then it just kind of got to the point I remember us, just sitting down one day, and we were like what is Beestera? And we didn't really know, and we kind of decided like, hey, let's give this a shot and see what it is, because yeah, I wasn't really loving being a teacher. He wasn't really loving coaching college soccer. So we said, hey, let's go for this. And the worst thing that happens is it doesn't work out, but it has since. So.
Exactly. And then, so if you're thinking about, so now, I guess that vision you had at the time, what's the offer? Was it like now versus then? So when you said, right, let's just define who we are and what our value proposition is, whatever it be. What did it look like at that point? And this is in dating it. This is going back how far? Was it
2015.
2015? It's 2015. You get together. Like, what did you define the business as at that point?
To be honest, we didn't know exactly what it was going to be, but we both have the same kind of values of what we wanted to be in mind, and that was always just developing better people and developing better players. Just incorporating the life aspect into every single thing we do, whether that's private training, team training, our futsal programs, our summer camps. Anything that we do, we want to impact the player as much as we can. Just because we saw when we were coaching in club in college, like the players weren't really getting that individual attention that I think that they really needed, and especially with COVID and everything like that, like I think players desperately needed to get out of their shell a little bit more and experiment a little bit more, and they kind of just lost all that. And sometimes they get lost in the team training sessions when there's 20 players and there's one coach, and sometimes they don't get their name said for weeks at a time. And we wanted to be those coaches that they look up to, that they enjoy coming, and we can motivate them to want to play more and want to train on their own and get better. And that's kind of how it all started, and just having those morals of better people, better players, and it's all everything we do just derives from that.
So you're talking about how sometimes the kids might be in the group training, and 1 to 20, one coach to 20 kids, and they might not.
Yeah, I mean that's part of the reason we started Beestera in the first place is, we were doing that and we noticed ourselves. It's not a knock against club or team coaches. It's just that's just what happens. It's impossible to, be able to give your attention and give the attention that every player needs in those types of sessions. It works out great when everyone's on the same level, and they're able to play together and they're all getting the same kind of feedback, and they're all developing at the same rate. But the teams we have and the teams around here, you have some players that are at completely different stages of their life than others, and they need that individual attention to keep getting better.
Yeah, and so in terms of if we're going to look at your offer, like the different types of sessions you offer and programs, camps, etc., what does that look like? Is it heavily skewed towards camps? I know you've got the kind of the national partnership, but what's your weekly schedule look like when we're looking at Beestera?
It's all kind of seasonal. So right now we're really gearing up for camps. So since I kind of oversee all of those, right now I'm working on getting the coaches together and seeing what availability they have and giving them a schedule, and working on our coaching curriculum, and just getting like athletic trainers for residential camps. So really just everything that needs to be organized. I'm trying to get ahead of all that right now. During, say, like the winter, my job would be more, private sessions, and then also building the schedule out, and even going farther back into, the fall. Directly after camps ends, we have our futsal program that runs. I do team, where we all do team training, where we go into teams that maybe have parents or volunteers as coaches, and we help them out with either education or just taking the training session. So depending on what time of the year it is, I kind of have a different role, and so does everyone else, within the business as well.
It's pretty varied. So, I mean, in terms of your involvement on the club side, are you kind of the teams that is a pathway? I guess that's what I'm asking. So someone who joins Beestera at an early age, elementary school, they can follow your pathway all the way through to playing for the club or competing.
So we don't have an actual club, Beestera Club. I mean, the futsal program we have is kind of the highest level of Beestera that you can play. So what we do with that is we kind of take all the best players that we see or recognize through our camps, through our private training, through the team training, and we invite them to come play football with us. And I think that's really helpful, and that's been really good. We've only been doing it for about 3 years, but what we say that is best players in the area training at the highest level possible. Because I think a lot of times when players are on like the best club team around us, they're not really being challenged that much, because there's five of them that are really good and at the same level. There's five of them that are right in the middle, and then there's five of them that are just way below everyone. And it's really like nobody's really helping each other in that situation. And that's why, I think the team coaches struggle a lot too, because you can't really make a session when you're in that kind of predicament. But at futsal, we have players that are at the same level. And they want to be challenged, and they want to be pushed, and they're all like-minded players, and they want to, go on and play at a high level, and they get really, they develop really quickly in that environment, which is great to see.
If you're looking out maybe like, I don't know, 3 to 5 years out from now, what's the vision for the business? Are you looking to like expand geographically, or just find a bit like produce the best players you can? What's the kind of the long term goal?
I think, well, for me, in terms of just being the director of camps, it's really just to expand them out, pretty much as far as we can go. My biggest thing is I'm all about just keeping the quality. I'd rather keep it the same right now as it is, and making sure our reputation stays intact, and making sure we're giving the players the best experience possible. Because as soon as I always say we can easily put a camp in any city in America, and we can get 30 or 50 players there, but if we don't have the right coaches in place or the right organization in place, and it's just not a good time for them, then there's really no point. So I'm looking to expand, but also keep the quality we have right now. And you mentioned the partnership with Nike. Like, we were the number one rated Nike soccer camp in the country, and that's, I think, because of just the care we put into every single camp we do, and knowing that, hey, the parents are trusting us and our coaches to, one, keep the kids safe, give them an amazing experience, but also get them better in terms of their soccer skills and
Yeah,
also
and I
their
get
life
what's
skills as well.
the a couple of questions on kind of your recurring challenges, but I'm assuming when you talked about the kind of the recruitment, keeping the quality, that's got to be tough or a challenge to find those coaches who are going to represent yourself and James on the pitch and with the parents. How do you go about finding those coaches that kind of fit your standard?
So we been kind of trying to groom coaches for the past pretty much 9 years since we started. Our first coach we ever had was Drew Trolio, and he's now directing camps, and he's a college student now, but he's been coaching for 9 years, which is crazy because he's only about 21 years old. But he started at a young age, and he's been with us the whole time. So that's kind of the way we try to do things the most. Is we have a counselor and training program, which is mainly for about like high school players and students that maybe have an interest in coaching or teaching in the future. They'll come in and they'll volunteer for a few weeks and see how we do things and kind of see what the environment is around them and how they fit in. After that, they can move up to an assistant coach, where they're just going to help the leader of the group out with whatever they need, and still learn and still grow. And then we have our lead coaches, who are the most experienced ones we have, whether they've come from different places or they've moved up the ranks. That's kind of what we try to create, is just that funnel system where players are now that we're 9 years in, players have come through camps and they've been a player at camps, and they know exactly what's expected of them, and they work their way through the counselor and training to an assistant coach, and hopefully by the time they get in college and beyond, they're now leading groups, and it kind of works out perfectly that way. This is actually the first year where we really needed to find more quality coaches, and that's why we took a trip over to England and Wales, and there's a great coaches conference there that we went to, and it's all people that are getting their college degree in either soccer coaching or teaching, any of those related fields, and they all want to come to America for the summer. So we went over there and we recruited about 15 coaches to come over. So they're all coming over in middle of June, and they're staying with host families, and they're really, really good coaches. So I think they're only going to help us out.
So that was just the first time you brought the guys over from the UK for camp, or did you do that before?
We brought over one coach last year, just to kind of try it out and see how things go, and to make sure that we do have the capacity to do that. Just because there is a lot to take care of. Just they're coming from a different country, and we want to make sure, yeah, that they're going to be working and they're going to be growing as a coach and a person. But at the same time, you know, camp's meant to be fun, and we want to make sure we're getting them everything they want out of their experience as well. So it's not just, hey, come over here and we're gonna work you to death and that's it. It's like, okay, we're planning trips for you. We're making sure we're getting you to the family that'll be the most fun. You can go to New York City if you're into that, or hike, or go watch a baseball game. So we're just making sure that they get the best experience the same way we would for the players as well. So they want to keep coming back in future years, or they want to tell their friends, oh, you have to go work for Beestera in the summer. It's the best ever. So that's just kind of another challenge that we've taken on, and we're excited to do, because I think they're going to help us a lot too.
Yeah, I like that, and I think from our listeners' perspective, whether they're in the UK and they're coaches looking at opportunities, or they're in the US and they're looking for coaches, same thing. What's the for you? I'm assuming there's a lot of work to be done in order to prepare the business to be able to recruit overseas, and what does that look like? What hoops did you have to jump through to be able to hire someone
Really, just making sure. Yeah,
from
it's
outside the
it's
country?
it's pretty easy, to be honest. I mean, coach we get from outside the country just has to get on a J1 visa, and that'll cover them throughout the summer. And we work with an outside organization to get them that visa, and it's really like they walk you through the steps, and pretty much from there, all you have to do is book your flight and come on over, and we take it from there. But they're all covered in terms of medical insurance, and anything that they possibly can go wrong. Like, the company we use handles all that, and we get to do all the fun stuff. So it is a really it seems like a lot, but it's just a really seamless process, the way it's all handled. And then when you get here, it's just about having fun and doing your work.
And what about those host families? Are they connected? Is that they connected with the clubs you work with and stuff, or are they just volunteer families wanting to host people?
So they're all the families are of players that are going to come to camp. Either they've come to camp in the past or they're going to camp this year. And we kind of plan it in a way that if you're going to host one of our coaches, we're going to let your child come for free to camp. All you really have to do is bring the coach with you when you go. So that's kind of like a little incentive for them to want to host, but also it's a great experience for the host families as well, just getting someone from a different culture. And a lot of parents reached out just because they wanted to host somebody. They wanted someone to maybe mentor their son or daughter a little bit and have them experience what's going on in a different culture as well. So I mean the amount of people that wanted to host was awesome, and we kind of go through and vet everyone. And we have little kind of like personality checks with the coaches and with the parents to kind of see who we think is going to mesh well together, and then matching them up geographically. And sometimes it's like even the littlest thing, like this family has two dogs, but this coach hates dogs. Now we're not going to put them together. So there is a lot that goes into like kind of that matchmaking process, but hopefully it works out well this year.
Nice. And so your footprint for the summer, so you're operating obviously. I know you're based in Albany, but whereabouts are your camps running? What's the footprint? How far out do you operate geographically?
So there's the majority of our day camps will be within an hour radius of Albany. And then we're doing a couple day camps in Massachusetts and Boston. But then we also have residential camps in Connecticut, in Massachusetts, in New Jersey. We're going down to Jacksonville, Florida for a day camp as well. So we're kind of trying to slowly make our way out and expand to different places. The one in Jacksonville, in Florida, that's obviously really far away from us, but the players get out of school in Jacksonville just a month earlier than the players get out of school in New York. So we didn't really want to waste, all that time when there's, opportunities to go other places, and we have a good connection with a coach down there who's helping us set everything up and helping us promote. So I'm looking forward to that too. That'll be a good experience too.
So if you were gonna, from the day-to-day basis, what's the biggest challenge you've got? I guess it changes throughout the year, like you said. But in the run-up to camp, what's your biggest challenge or area you're focusing on every day and checking? Is it camp numbers? Is it recruitment? What's the biggest headache you've got right now?
I think, yeah, I would have to say it's the making sure that we have coaches for each camp. So there's sometimes that we have 7 day camps going on in the same week. And it's just right now, it's making sure the coaches are getting their availability in of where and when they can work. And then also, like you said, matching up the current registrations we have and kind of projecting, hey, what's this camp going to be at and how many coaches are we going to need to make sure that's a quality camp. It's just like the coaches sometimes don't know their schedules until later or closer to the summer, so that's tough to do. And we really we can kind of project what's going to happen just from future or past years. It just doesn't always work out that way. Whether it's a Fourth of July week and there's a day that there is no camp and a week that a lot of people will go on vacation, like that's going to impact the numbers. Or maybe it's a new location and we have no idea what's going to happen there. But that's where those international coaches really do help out a lot, because they're coming here, yeah, for the experience of getting a new culture, but also they're coming here to work, and I can kind of make their schedule whatever I want it to be. And it's going to be a guarantee that they're there. It's not like some of our coaches that we already have here that are, really good people, but sometimes, hey, something pops up last minute, and now all of a sudden they're going on vacation with their parents, and now they can't work camp. So I think my biggest concern right now is just making sure that all those numbers match up. And I'd rather have way too many coaches at a camp, and giving players more individual attention, even if that's going to cost us as a business more money, because I know it's just going to be a better experience for them. They're going to end up coming back next year compared to being, understaffed a little bit.
So I guess since 2015 to now, have you developed any, I guess, business philosophies or way that yourself or the rest of the team operate, or like values or systems, processes, stuff that you kind of lean on that you recommend to anyone else in your position or starting out right now?
I think it's kind of like we've always stuck to just being like true to what you really believe in, and that's for me. and for the camps and even the business as a whole, you know, we talk a lot about winning and motivating players to win, but at the same time, there's so much you can teach, throughout the game and throughout losses and throughout wins. I think a lot of people kind of get hung up a lot of times with, hey, making sure everybody's happy. On Friday at our camps, there's more tears than there are happy faces because that's like our playoffs and that's our championships. But as a coach, that's like the best time because that gives you every opportunity to teach so much more than just, the skills of soccer. So like we teach like and me and I'm like a really competitive person, I kind of put that into camps as well. And, we kind of instill that in all the players and motivate them. Like I don't care what you're doing, if it's, a homework assignment or a test, like you should want to get a better grade than the person next to you when you look over to see what they got. It's like if you're playing soccer and you're just doing a simple passing drill, like compete with yourself and see how fast you can do it. And can you do it with your left foot? Can you do it with your eyes up? Can you do different things like that to make yourself better? And then when it gets to the game, like I don't care what the score is, like you are trying to win. Like if you're down 5-0, you're trying to come back. If you're up 5-0, try to make it 10-0. Like that's the kind of the competitive spirit we want to instill in them. So when there are tears, at the end of Friday because they didn't win an award, we don't give out awards to everyone. I don't want to say like I'm happy about it, but it shows like that they care, that they care what's going on and they wanted to win and they tried as hard as they can. It just didn't work out. So I think that's big just from, a business perspective is like that's who all of us are within the business is we're competitive people. We want to be better than each other, even at coaching, even if we might not, say it, to each other, but it's like, hey, if I see James doing something that's really good and he puts on a really good session, I'm looking over, I'm trying to do something a little bit better than him. And I think that competitiveness is what brings out the best in everyone and makes you a better person. So
It's not controversial, I don't think, but in terms of like with competition around kids and like that generation where everyone gets awards and like it's refreshing to hear your approach on that. But do you see anything else that's kind of trends within kids now, whether it's coming off the back of COVID or just their engagement? And I'm guessing maybe not because they're coming to soccer to Beestera because they love soccer and they want to play. But do you see those kind of trends in their behaviours and what you're doing to combat them if you can do anything?
I think the biggest thing now is that players just aren't willing to communicate. And it was funny because we did a camp with Tom Owens in Liverpool a few years ago, and watching a 6 and 7 year old play the game in England compared to a 6 and 7 year old here was just light years different.
Is that like an inherent skill from just playing from day one kind of thing? Yeah.
I think so, yeah, and it was just really, really fun to just watch and be a part of, and just the tackles they're putting in are crazy, and then you come to, one of our camps and you might see a 6 and 7 year old and they don't want to talk to anybody. That I think that's part of what happened in COVID and not, having that social interaction with so many people. And also like social media and the technology is like, you're always looking on your phone and being in your computer is people just don't talk to each other that much. And even when you're trying to talk to them and give them feedback, like they struggle to take it a lot, and I think that's why it's so important. Like our summer camps, I think, are so important because when you have that close connection with a player and you can build that trust up, with them, and they're willing to trust you and communicate with you, you can get so much more out of them. And we talked about the team coaches before in the team sessions. When you have 20 players and one coach, you're not getting that same connection. But if you build that trust up, seeing them for 6-7 hours a day for a full week, you're going to get a lot out of them. And if they really buy into what you're doing, you can really like change a kid's life, throughout just 1 week of camp. And I say that and it kind of like sounds cliche, but like that's why I do this and that's why most of our coaches do this is like you have that opportunity to change a player's life if you are really committed and willing to put in the work to build that trust and stay on them, and motivate them. Like they're going to respect you even more and they're going to build off you. The main goal of us is that players leave camp and they want to go play more soccer and they want to join another team and they want to play on their own and they're getting their friends together to play. It's not we're not going to make you the greatest player of all time in 1 week, but we will be able to motivate you to want to do more and want to be a better person and player. And that's kind of what we're going for.
And going through that process as well, it just builds their confidence, right? To that's transferable across everything. So I hear you when you're talking about the ability to take the feedback, or just like it's almost like the direct But soccer, that's the environment, right? You're going to give instructions. You're going to be direct and say, "This is what you need to do right now." I'm not saying it's not going to be mean or anything, but it's a direct instruction versus how maybe they're spoken to elsewhere or not spoken to or interacting via screens. So yeah, I think it's super important. Just moving on in terms of this summer and kind of your program. And you mentioned there that at the end of the program you kind of build up to that competition schedule. Is that how it works? And generally, the kids, and this is just out of my curiosity, the kids will be staying with you for the whole summer, or they're just going to drop in for a week, maybe come back in. Just curious on kind of how that works and mainly your philosophy around the game. Like, do you have a specific? This is the Beestera way, or is there like a coaching philosophy that you've built up over the years?
Yeah, I think most players we see come for just 1 week of camp, and then probably about I'd say 45 to 50% of them will come to an extra week of camp as well. So we'll only see them for 1 or 2 weeks throughout the summer. Some players come to 8, 9 weeks, but we only do camps 1 week in this location, and then next week will be somewhere else. Like we always joke that we're like a traveling camp circus. We'll pack up the van on Friday, we'll move it out to a new town, and then we'll do it there. So we only sometimes we'll see the players just one time, and I think that's really important. And we always stress that to our coaches is if you coach 9 weeks, 10 weeks straight of summer camp, yeah, it's fun, but it's exhausting. Like it is exhausting giving that energy over and over to the players, and trying to get the most out of them just constantly for 7 hours a day. But then at the same time, once you get to a new place and you start getting towards the end, some of these some of these players are coming to camp for the first time, and they've been waiting for this all year, and maybe their parents have been saving up all year just to send them to a camp. So we want to give them that same experience, that same quality experience that they could have gotten on the first week, that they're going to get the same thing on the last week. So it's kind of just like making sure we hype our coaches up and hype ourselves up as well, going through that whole process. But in terms of our philosophy, I know we talked about like the competitiveness and everything, and I think it's different based on what program we're doing. So summer camps, first and foremost, it's always just got to be fun. We teach everything through different games. You'll never see us at a summer camp doing just like a drill where you're dribbling through cones and passing the ball to someone else. Everything has some kind of competition element to it, because I think every time you add that competition element, you're going to have the players that want to train a little bit harder, and they're going to push themselves, and it gives you as a coach more opportunities to teach, in that sense, versus a lot of times they'll get bored really easily just doing little cone drills and stuff like that. So for the younger ones, there's always a storyline to the game. It's snakes versus birds, or cops and robbers kind of thing like that. So there's always a storyline to make them a little bit more excited and invested into the game. And then as we get older, it just turns into more competition, whether that's against yourself or whether that's against somebody else you're playing with. But that's we teach more through games and camps, but then when you get to our private training, obviously it's more of that drill mindset, of just kind of critiquing their technique, and just making them a better player that way. So depending on what we're doing, it changes a little bit, but that same idea of just competition and pushing yourself and kind of doing the simple things right always stays the same.
Nice, I love that. So for you, Mike, I know you got obviously sounds like so much going on, so many moving parts. I'm sure there's a bit of stress in there, especially on the run up to summer or during summer. But how do you kind of stay on top of on your game? So do you have a certain routine that you use every morning, or do you like lean on certain de-stress activities? What's your secret to leading the business?
I'll tell you, like two years ago, we were doing like 10 weeks of camp straight, and to be honest, I don't think as organized as I could have been going into the summer, but mainly I really didn't know what to expect. And we've been growing so quick, like so quickly over a short amount of time, that everything kind of just hits you at once. Even if you think you're prepared, you're really not, because so many things go wrong. So me and my wife went to one of her friends' weddings after the summer, and during the best man's speech or toast, sorry, it was during the vows for the husband. I just passed out in front of everyone, and that was right after the summer ended. So it was kind of like I it's so much like
Wow.
I guess stress built up and like so much, and I would just go, 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 and I never stopped. And then when I went to the doctors after, he was like, I think your body just finally got a chance to relax, and then it just kind of like over
Relax.
relax, and you just
Yeah.
like that, yeah. So that was crazy, and that was like kind of an eye-opening moment. Like you don't really realize it in the time, but I'm driving from state to state, and making sure we have coaches everywhere, and making sure we're up to date with our health, regulations and everything that's going on with that, and up for inspections and things. So, my wife is a health and wellness coach as well, and so she's really been taking care of me, and getting me like the electrolytes I need, and like she's big into trying out different remedies to see what works the best. So, like I got like watermelon, like fresh watermelon juice in the morning with salt and lime, and a good like protein smoothie from her every morning, and she makes like healthy lunches now and everything. So I mean, she's honestly kept me going the past 2 years, mainly just because she's like, I just don't want to see you just die at a wedding. So, but she's she's been awesome and kind of keeping me going. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. But that's that focus on, because when you're so busy, like it's easy, especially traveling so much. It's easy just to grab whatever on the road and eat whatever you can whenever you can, right? So having that preparation, I'm sure that's awesome. Beestera, where does the brand name come from? Because is that just a combination of the two founders' names, or what's the origin story? I'm just curious because I feel like I've been butchering it the whole interview, whether I'm pronouncing it correctly or not.
No, you got it. Yeah, that's it. Usually people say it a lot of different ways, but it's Beestera, so it's James Beeston, so it's his last name, and my last name's Matera, so it's the first four letters of his, Bees, and then a lot of people don't know, like we share the T, and we say that's kind of like the kind of synergy of everything, and working together, and then the ERA, is me. But yeah, I mean he's the creative genius behind that. As we always say, it's like super original. But we were just in the car one day, me and him, after I thought, like we said before, we were like, hey, let's make this work. Let's go for this. And he was like, what are we gonna call it? And then I remember being at a stoplight, just around the corner here, and he just said, let's just call it Beestera. And for me, to be honest, I don't care either way. So I was like, yeah, let's go for it. And it ended up sticking pretty well, and that's good. And even the colors, he chose black, yellow, and white. That's his favorite team back home that he played for, Port Vale. But it also is my high school team's colors, so that worked. I was like, yeah, go for it, man. And then he made a really cool logo with the England flag and American flag, and soccer in there. So there's a lot of little intricacies within the logo, which is really cool. So I mean, I got to give him all the credit for everything on the social media and everything that comes with the brand is all him.
Finally, though, last question I was going to ask you before. So this one is, you ask it to everyone who comes on the show. So basically, if you were going to go back in time, give yourself a bit of advice at the start of your kind of journey with the business, just before you launched. What would that piece of advice? It's probably going to be pay attention to nutrition. Now, listening to what you said, but if there's another piece of advice you can go back and give yourself, as the younger Mike.
I would say start earlier. That's like James and I both knew we wanted to do this, and we kind of danced around it for a few years before actually really going for it. I think if you find something that you're really passionate about and want to do, just go for it. I mean, the worst that happens is it doesn't work out, and then you go do something else. I think one of the worst the thing I hate hearing most is when people are unhappy at their jobs and they're young. It's like you can change that. Like there's so much you can do. Like if you find something that you really care about and want to do, like just go do it and try it. So I think that's one. And the second thing is bring people in around you that you trust and have the same goals and values that you have. And like that's where I don't get to talk about Matt much today, but Matt is the reason we are successful as a business. Matt was a college teammate of James and I, but he brings the finance background to everything. James and I have no idea how to run a business. And that's why we were just kind of flying by the seat of our pants. Money would come in, we would split it, and then go our ways and do something else again next year. Matt is the reason that we have turned into a full-fledged business, and without him, there's no way we would be anywhere close to where we are today. And it just so happens that he ends up being one of our best friends too. And he's a great coach at the same time, but without him, like Beestera is not even a thing. So I'd say those two things, and then the last one, just for the listeners, is we're best friends. You know, a lot of people say don't go into business with your friends, but I think we have a kind of rare relationship where we trust each other just like we're family. You know, if someone needed something, you know, we would help them out, and everything's, you know, decided between the three of us. And, you know, even to this day, you know, people are still like, it's not going to work. You know, you guys are friends, and people always fall out over business and money and things like that. I really don't see that ever happening because we all have the same goal, we all have the same vision, and like we're all just good people. We want each other to be successful as well, and I think that's the best decision we made is going into business together. So, I mean, I see where things could go wrong, but when you find the right people to surround yourself with and people that are going to make you better and make the business better, you know, there's nothing more fun than running and growing, you know, something with the people you love the most. So I say just go for it.
No, exactly. And like I say, just hearing you talk, it feels like a really great place to work. Obviously, if that's the kind of the synergy between the management team, I'm sure that filters down to all the coaches, and then obviously up to the kids and the parents. So yeah, it's great to hear. Mike, I appreciate your time. I know we've been trying to get this in the diary for a while, so yeah, I appreciate you bearing with us and sharing, and wishing you all the best for the summer. I'm sure you're going to grow again next year, and hopefully we can talk to you again then.
Sounds good. Appreciate it, James. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.